everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm Julia Polson with Indiana Constructors, Inc. And today I'm meeting with Mark Bagwell. He is the Vice President and Construction Practice Lead at the Horton Group. Thanks for joining me today, Mark.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Julia.
Well, if you want to go ahead and just start off by telling everyone, repeating your position and how long you've been in that position at the Horton Group.
Yeah. So as Julia mentioned, my name is Mark Bagwell. I'm a vice president and leader of our construction practice group here in Indiana for Horton. Been with the agency for 7 years this month and in the insurance and risk management business for about 11 or 12 years now.
Awesome. Well, happy work anniversary.
Thank you.
The Horton Group, you mentioned, insurance, risk, all of that. If you want to go ahead and share with everyone everything about the Horton Group, what they do, what they specialize in, et cetera, so everyone that's tuning in will have more understanding of what the Horton Group does.
It's insurance and risk management, so I don't think anybody probably wants to hear everything that we do, but we're a regional, like I say, insurance and risk management firm. We're Midwest and Upper Midwest focused, so we're headquartered out of the Chicago suburbs. Insurance, surety, safety consulting services. We are a middle market focused firm with about 400 employees throughout the Midwest. And construction happens to be our largest niche or our largest focus group. So we've really built out a lot of services and capabilities, have a lot of insurance company relationships that are heavily involved in the construction space. And kind of in a nutshell, I guess that's who we are as Horton.
So as Vice President and Construction Practice Lead at the Horton Group, if you want to share what that position means, everyone can have more of an idea of exactly what you do for the Horton Group.
Yeah, absolutely. At its most basic, I'm responsible for developing new clients and maintaining the existing clients that we have. Really what that comes down to is helping our clients to identify their greatest areas of risk and then addressing how they want to handle those in a way that matches their risk tolerance and is the best option from a financial standpoint. A lot of the work that we do with our construction clients is around contractual risk transfer, risk management from a contractual standpoint, as well as safety and in-field consulting services. We employ a team of 14 full-time safety consultants.
Oh, wow.
And a big part of my role is kind of matching a client's needs and wants for their risk management program up to the internal resources that we have available, and kind of creating that bond or that relationship with our firm, so that we can ideally develop long-term client relationships.
No, that's a common thing I hear, in our industry. Even if you're not on the insurance side or you're out in the field, no matter what part of the highway construction industry you're in, it's all about relationships and building those relationships so it'll turn into a long-term relationship and not a short-term relationship.
Yep.
So how did you get into the insurance risk advisory side of highway construction, and what keeps you there?
So I kind of fell into it, honestly. It was not something that I have an education background in insurance or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of great schools here in Indiana that do offer an insurance or risk management degree. I was in a sales role immediately after college.
Mm-hmm.
And in looking for a position after a few years, there was an opportunity that presented itself on the insurance carrier, the insurance company side of things. And that role happened to be focused on workers' compensation. And in that position, I had the opportunity to deal with a lot of contractors whose biggest premium spends were oftentimes the workers' comp line. And then from there, after about 4.5 years in that role, the opportunity presented itself with Horton, and at the time, Horton had fairly recently acquired an agency here in South Bend. That agency had kind of dabbled in construction and had some clients there, but it's really been, it's been very fortuitous for me from a timing standpoint to be able to jump into the construction space with both feet and help Horton in Indiana kind of grow their presence in that construction space. I think the thing that I enjoy most about working with contractors, besides the relationship piece of
Yeah.
it, the thing that I enjoy most is most construction companies are looking for a partner in their risk management provider because of the very inherent nature of risk in the business, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how street and road guys do it.
I don't either.
I don't have the guts to just kind of forget about or to ignore the dangers of traffic buzzing by, and there's a lot of workers out there that are able to do that. So the construction space in general and street and road and heavy utility specifically, it's just a really fascinating and intriguing area for me. So it's been a pretty natural transition into that side of things.
Was there anything that you remember that stands out that made you want to join the team at the Horton Group?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things for sure. The first being that Horton is a family owned and very family value based agency. So we're a second generation agency. We've just transitioned from our founder, Glenn Horton, to his son, Dan Horton, who is pretty much in line with me from an age standpoint. And Dan always describes it as being fiercely committed to staying independently owned. There's a lot of mergers and acquisitions activity in the insurance brokerage world right now, and has been for the last 5 to 7 years. But we've got a very defined plan to remain independently owned. And we feel like there are a lot of positives in that for both our clients as well as for our employees. The other piece of it is culture and the office environment and the things that we do to treat our employees really well and to try to kind of be that or provide that work family atmosphere. I'm smiling about that because office culture is something that has gone away for us since March, and we do some things to try to maintain that. We've had some socially distanced picnics and things like that through the summer, but the relationships and the people here were a huge factor in me joining the agency. Where things go from here, I don't know. And not that I think that personality side of it is going to change, but you just kind of miss seeing the people that you work with regularly. So we'll have to figure out that.
I can relate to that 100%. So
yeah.
The new normal, which and like I mentioned earlier, you're an insurance person who happens to be in the highway construction industry. Can you think of what your favorite part of your job in the highway construction industry with the Horton Group is?
I would say it's one of either two things. The first thing would be helping someone address a problematic situation as it relates to their risk management program. And maybe that's as simple as, finding a better insurance company or a better market for someone that is going to provide them with a cost savings. But it's oftentimes a lot more significantly helping someone address a safety issue that they've got, or helping a client work through a contract negotiation and terms and conditions that aren't favorable for them, that are for the owner. I'm not talking about NDOT contracts or anything like that here, but more on the private side of things.
Yeah.
The other piece of it is I enjoy getting out in the field and learning more about the business and seeing what it is that our clients in the industry are dealing with on a daily basis is something that really helps us to know, okay, where can we step in and help complement the things that you guys are already doing? What can we do to try to minimize your risk as much as possible? understanding that there's not, unlimited dollars that anybody's going to pour it at any aspect of their business. But those two things are definitely what I enjoy most.
Great. So now I want to learn more about you. And I love that you shared everything about the Horton Group, but I think it's really important. This is probably my favorite part of these conversations, is learning specifically about the person I'm talking to. So when it comes to your career journey, you mentioned that, you went to college and everything, but if you want to kind of walk us through that career journey a little bit more specific, from where you kind of started, even if that's like before college or whatever, to how you got into your vice president role at the Horton Group now.
So I don't broadcast this to everybody in the construction industry in Indiana because I find myself dealing with a lot more Purdue grads than I do IU grads. But I'm an IU graduate down in Bloomington. After school, I got into sales and was selling to the manufacturing industry primarily for a few years out of school. And then it was at that point or after a few years that I made the move into the insurance business. So focusing on work comp from an insurance carrier standpoint, I was dealing more with insurance agents. And as I got more familiar with the business and as I learned more about risk management and some of the challenges and concerns that there are for construction, it fairly quickly led me to realizing that a role where I was dealing directly with the client as opposed to dealing with the insurance broker. So in both roles, I'm a little bit of the middleman. I'm very happy to have had the opportunity to make the jump from the insurance company side of things to the insurance brokerage side of things. And because one of the things that I enjoy most is dealing with the clients. There's some challenges that come with that from time to time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Some difficult conversations that have to be had from time to time, but that's definitely the most rewarding part of it. And then within Horton, in my time here, I feel fortunate to have joined a great agency that has supported us with the resources that we need to be able to work with sophisticated and complex clients that have very unique risk management needs. We oftentimes say, our ideal client is someone that has complex needs and resources with which to address those. That fits very, very well in construction, whether you've got 10 employees or 10,000 employees. There's a lot of risk and a lot of complexity to what goes on a daily basis. And that's really fun to be a small part of that.
So as vice president and construction practice lead at the Horton Group, can you explain to us what your day-to-day is like? It may not be the same. And I know COVID's probably, I know you mentioned to me before we started recording that, you've been doing what I've been doing, working from home a lot. But just go ahead and explain to everyone what your typical day-to-day is like.
Yeah, day-to-day, huge variety. There are times that I might have, 2, 3, 4 client or prospective client meetings in a given day, and I'm running from one place to the next. Obviously, I'm out of our South Bend office. We're actually going to be opening an Indianapolis office within the next 2 months here.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, I cover a big part of the state, kind of from north to south. I've got a client down in Evansville that I work with, so depending upon the day, good amount of car time out dealing with client renewals, with new business meetings where you're just establishing that first part of the relationship. I try to get out with our safety consultants fairly regularly, especially earlier on in a new life cycle with a client or prospective client. It's always very insightful for me to be able to see the risks that somebody is facing in a given situation. Our offices are now, I guess, kind of unofficially open, that we don't have many people coming in, but in a day like today where in between meetings or I've got something like this, It's easier for me to work from our actual office as opposed to from my home office.
Yeah.
So I have less likelihood of getting interrupted here than I do at home, and so that's why I'm here. But yeah, day to day varies greatly, and that's a really nice feature of the job, which I enjoy.
Yeah, definitely keeps you on your toes and makes it really, really exciting. Can you think of what is or what has been the most rewarding part about your job or working in, in the highway construction industry as a whole? I know you mentioned favorite parts about your job, but what's been most rewarding?
Anytime that we're able to establish a new client relationship and a customer says, I'm going to entrust you with my risk management needs and with my company's risk management needs, that's an extremely rewarding and gratifying
Oh, for sure.
kind of honor that somebody is saying, we're going to work with you versus who our prior agent was. And then the other piece of it is, when you help a client with something that's been a struggle for them.
Hmm.
We're big believers in helping our clients find what we would term as alternative risk financing models. So it's not just, hey, you have a $1,000 deductible for all your vehicles and then you pay your premiums. It's all right. Well, let's see, is there something that is going to be a better financial outcome for you guys that also matches up with where your risk tolerance is. And I think in situations where we've been able to help clients find new or creative strategies to address their risks, those are always rewarding when those types of scenarios play out.
Client centered or client focused is what I love that you keep referring back to about the Horton Group. Thinking back to your younger self, is there any advice that you could think that you would give your younger self that would have helped you in your adult life in highway construction?
I feel extremely fortunate to have somewhat unintentionally found the role that I'm in now.
Hmm.
It is not what I would have thought that I was doing or what I thought that I would be doing. I was not a 10 or 12-year-old kid that was dreaming of one day being an insurance agent. Just like my 10-year-old son doesn't dream that that's what he's going to do either. But the things that I've done to get to this point, I don't think that I ever could have necessarily predicted that path. But it's also led me to be, and a little bit cliche, but it's
Yeah.
turned me into who I am, both as a person and as a professional now. So while there are some little things that you look back and you're like, yeah, if I could have done this a little bit differently or that a little bit differently, but there really isn't anything from a professional standpoint that
Yeah.
I think I would necessarily have done differently.
Hey, I'm right there with you. I thought I was going to work in healthcare when I was in college. I was a comm studies major, focused in health communication, minored in American Sign Language, and here I am working in the same industry as my father, which I
There you go. There you
so I'm
go.
right there with you. Looking back, it's like everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad it did, because I kind
Yeah.
of fell into this career path also. Um,
Yeah.
so I guess we'll wrap it up with one last question. If you were talking with high school students or younger kids that are thinking, maybe highway construction is the industry that I want to go into, whether that's straight out of high school or go into college to end up in this industry, what would you tell them or what advice would you give a student about getting into this industry?
Get involved at the earliest stage possible. So I think in this day and age, there is so much information, so many different avenues for younger people to learn about a field that they might be interested in getting into. Whether that be right out of high school, whether that's after a 2-year program, a 4-year program, get yourself in a position to see what the role is like. And coming back to your last question about, if there's anything that I would have done differently, honestly, just thinking about other young people. I wish that as a college student, I would have maybe had a couple more internships or explored some fields that I don't necessarily know that much about, because insurance and risk management is one of those that it is nothing like the stereotype in my head was. And I think that translates very well to anyone that is interested in the construction industry as a whole, or more specifically the highway and infrastructure space. There's a lot of misconceptions out there, right? That their technology in the construction industry is, I would say, rivals, most industries that are out there, and is going to be a significantly bigger piece of anyone's role, whether it be in the field, in the office, wherever. And that's something that is obviously appealing to a lot of younger people. There's also a lot of great opportunities because of the need to attract more young people to the industry, for people to get exposure and to get involved at any number of different levels. So that'd be my biggest advice. Just, find a way to get some exposure to it and see if it either is or isn't something that you're interested in.
No, I love that. 'Cause sometimes that's hard when you're young, to know exactly what you want to do after you graduate college, or even when you're in high school. So
Yeah.
that's another thing I wish I would have done, was have more internships, and especially in areas that maybe I wouldn't have typically thought would have fit me. But I guess since I didn't do that, I guess it worked out okay. So, but
Yeah,
if I would have done differently, that's definitely something I would have done different.
right. There's just so many misconceptions out there, and I think that the construction industry is doing a good job in the recent past to try to get past a lot of those. Right. I
Oh,
mean,
for sure.
I couldn't tell you how many clients that I have that tell me that they've got a really good group of employees that are age 50 plus, and they've got a really good group of employees that are 35 and under. But there's kind of that gap there.
Yep.
Where, our educational system stopped pushing those, and stopped pushing skilled trades, and stopped pushing people to, manufacturing and construction. And that's a problem in the industry. Mm-hmm. So I think as a whole, we're doing a better job of changing those misconceptions and getting people more exposure to it. And that's going to do nothing but have positive impact in the future.
No, I agree. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Time out of your day and sharing, about what the Horton Group does and your career journey on how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. I really appreciate the opportunity. Obviously, a unique set of circumstances, but this is a great avenue, and I appreciate you asking me to be a part of it.